Okie dokie, we're here to welcome Lucy Butler, and she's going to speak about the act of happiness. Lucy's business, Head to Heart Health, began after years of running from everyday situations in which she found herself. A quote from her website tells us that eventually I realised I couldn't keep running from the darkness inside me. I think I've had to find a way to shine a light on it. That's a really powerful quote, Lucy. Lucy's going to lead us on an exploration into the essence of happiness. What does happiness mean? How can we achieve it? What's preventing us from feeling happiness? It's time to learn some helpful practical strategies and daily habits to allow us to foster genuine joy. Now, the interesting fact about Lucy, she's never lost a game of Harry Potter trivia. Please welcome Lucy Butler. And I do have to say, our daughter was very, very envious of that claim to fame.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with a story. Once upon a time, in a peaceful valley, nestled between two mountains, there lived two travellers. Though they came from different lands, both of them had the same goal: to reach the shining city beyond the mountains, a place they had heard was filled with happiness and joy. The path was long and winding, and along the way, they encountered many of the same trials and challenges. But their journeys could not have been more different. The first traveller, let's call him Leo, was eager to reach the city as quickly as possible. His eyes were always fixed on the horizon, scanning for the shining towers of the city that promised happiness. But no matter how hard he pushed himself, the city always seemed far away. Every obstacle in his path, the rough terrain, the steep cliffs, the storms, they just frustrated him. He became increasingly unhappy, feeling like the world was against him, preventing him from reaching the happiness that he deeply craved. This journey is unbearable, Leo would mutter to himself. How can anyone find happiness with so many problems in the way? The second traveller, a woman named Mia, had also set her sights on that shining city, but her approach was different. Rather than rushing forward, Mia took her time, stopping often to admire the wildflowers on the side of the path, to listen to the songs of the birds, and to feel the breeze on her face. She too faced the same steep hills and sudden storms, but each time she paused to appreciate the beauty of the world around her, even in the midst of challenge. One day, as the two travellers' paths crossed, they sat together to rest beneath a tree. Leo, looking weary and frustrated, asked Mia, "How is it that you're not upset? Aren't you tired of this journey with its endless challenges? Aren't you desperate to reach the city?" Mia smiled gently and replied, "I want to reach the city just as much as you do, but I've realised something along the way. I could spend my entire journey focused on what's still far off, or I could choose to find joy in the moments right here. Happiness might be waiting for me in the city, but it's also with me when I decide to see the good in what's around me, even when things get tough." Leo frowned, confused. "But how can you be happy when the path is so hard?" Mia looked at him thoughtfully. "The path is hard," she said. "But if I only focus on the difficulty, I miss the beauty. I've chosen to see the journey as part of my happiness, not an obstacle to it. The storms, the hills, they've made me stronger. The flowers, the birds, they remind me that there's joy in the small moments too. Happiness isn't something we find at the end of this road. It's how we see the road itself. It's how we travel on it." And Leo fell silent, reflecting on her words. For the first time, he looked around and noticed the vibrant colours of the valley, the scent of the wildflowers and the coolness of the breeze. He had been so fixated on that city far, far away that he hadn't seen the beauty of the journey. So from that day on, Leo decided to slow down and take a different perspective. Though the challenges of the past still appeared, he no longer let them weigh him down. And he and Mia continued their journeys. They both discovered that happiness wasn't waiting for them in the shining city at all. It had been with them all along in the way they choose to see the world. So today, my talk is going to help you go on a journey to explore happiness, what it is, how it can be created in your life through your perspective, your focus, and your health. I was originally doing 2 different talks. One was going to be a talk and one was going to be a bit more interactive. And so what I've done today is join them together. So I will be using the bell, so everyone needs to listen out for it. So I want to talk more about happiness and how we can incorporate it in our lives. Many people think about happiness as an overall assessment of life, or of relationships, or of events. I mean, have you asked, how's your job? Are you happy? How's your relationship? Does he or she make you happy? Or just, how's... David, I saw that. She does make you happy. How's life? Are you happy? People talk about happiness just as, I want to live a happy life. But I want to talk to you today about happiness as a narrower experience. It's something that's more practical and grounded. Happiness is a moment. It's a feeling like all others that come and go. Happiness is, like in the story, a collection of the small moments. The things you notice, the way you look at them, all brought together to create a feeling you enjoy. Almost every client that I've worked with at some time or another has told me that they just want to be happy. But what does it mean? I mean, is it the same for everyone? And how does happiness even work? But to begin this journey towards happiness, I want to first start looking at what happiness is not. So marketing has us believe that happiness is something we can buy. We're constantly bombarded with advertisements telling us that if we look a certain way or earn a certain amount of money or we own the latest TV or car, then we will be happy. Think about the countless commercials showing people with perfect bodies, enjoying luxurious lifestyles, suggesting a certain fitness program or diet pill is the key to happiness. Car advertisements that have those sleek, expensive vehicles that show you having ultimate satisfaction and success just because you can drive through a river now. This message creates a false narrative that material possessions and external achievements are the ultimate source of happiness. Everyone here, I'm sure, can think about a Coca-Cola ad. You might not be able to picture the whole ad, but I'm sure that most of you can remember the You can remember that model who's there and their beautiful sun-kissed skin and they're happy, and as soon as they've had that drink of that Coca-Cola, they are absolutely happy, amazing life that they just couldn't be finding any fault with, right? So who thought of that when they thought of Coca-Cola? Yeah. Who wants a Coke right now just because I've talked about it a bit? Yeah, it's really good advertising. Jenny needs one to stay awake through my talk, so we might... No, I'm only joking. But it's a fake happiness. It's something that they're telling us, this is going to make you happy, but it's not. I mean, what's the latest fake happiness that we have? It's the social media likes and followers. Social media has made it easy for us to tie our sense of happiness and self-worth to external validation. Likes, comments, followers, how many shares we get. Each time we receive a notification, our brain releases a small amount of dopamine, which is associated with pleasure and reward. And it's a quick hit, and it feels good in the moment, but a feeling is fleeting and superficial, and it's ultimately hollow. The same when we follow the latest beauty trend or buy the latest fashion clothes or drink a can of Coke. It's all based on external validation, what others think of us, or if we're trying to keep up with someone else, what other people choose to acknowledge. And when we rely on these brief bursts of approval or dopamine to feel happy, we aren't developing a lasting internal sense of worth. It's like when you're starving and you eat junk. It might feel good in that moment, but it really does leave you feeling hungrier and less satisfied in the long run. And the problem with chasing likes and followers or the latest trend, it turns happiness into a numbers game. It makes fulfillment conditional on other people's responses. We begin to equate likes with value and less likes with less worth. And it creates a cycle of dependency, constantly seeking the next hit of approval. The more we chase it, the emptier we feel, because it's never enough. Because there's always a higher number of likes or followers that we want to reach, or another trend that we want to get on, or more youthful looking, or whatever it is. I mean, if someone who was constantly complaining about work or family or money suddenly opens a can of Coke and has a drink, do you think they'll find happiness? It's not real. True happiness doesn't come from how others view us, but from how we view ourselves, and that deeper, meaningful connection that we foster in our lives. External validation is shallow and temporary, but internal happiness is built on self-acceptance, personal growth, and real relationships. So now we're going to have a quick chat, because this is going to be an interactive talk. And I want you to talk to someone near you about something that you may currently be chasing that is based on external validation or false happiness. And I'll time you for a few minutes, and then I'll ring the bell when it's time to come and have a look back up the front. So have a chat to someone near you about that. Well done, thank you. So for some of you, it might have been some of the things about the way you look, or the things you might want to buy in the future. For my son right now, he wants me to spend money on a new TV, even though he very rarely watches it, but he thinks that he needs to have one with greater resolution. And that's just what he's chasing. He thinks it's going to make him happy. But happiness is influenced by three things. And the first of those things is your perspective. It's the mental filters in our head that are creating meaning for us. If you accept and love yourself, you'll have confidence and feel happier. You'll be able to try new things, you'll set yourself higher goals, you'll be more forgiving of your mistakes and open to accepting feedback from others. In the mindset of self-acceptance, you can unlock a deeper sense of contentment and joy in your life. We often think that external circumstances are dictating our happiness, but in reality, it's how we interpret those circumstances that make all the difference. So imagine that each of us is walking through life on a journey wearing a pair of invisible glasses. And these glasses are our perspective. They're tinted by our past experiences, our attitudes, our beliefs, our memories, and the internal language that we have. If our lenses are tinted with negativity or fear or resentment, the world seems bleak and dark and hopeless no matter what happens. If we wear lenses tinted with gratitude and resilience and hope, the same world seems like a brighter place. Who here has a brother or sister? Have you ever had a conversation with your brother or sister about a family event from the past, and both of you have different feelings or memories of that very same event? It might have been how one person was acting, or what they were saying, how you felt, how they felt, what someone said or what someone did. Do you have a different memory of it because you were drunk and your sister was sober? No, it's not. It's because the glasses you wear have a slightly different tint to the one that your brother or sisters wear. If I'm wearing dark lenses and I drop a plate on the floor in the kitchen and it breaks, I get angry at myself for being clumsy. I get upset that it's another thing that I have to clean up, or now I don't have a full set of plates anymore, and what happens when everyone comes over and someone has to have the dodgy plate that doesn't match, I might cry, I might tell myself I'm stupid, I might just worry about how I'm always messing up and I'm always getting things wrong and I'm always breaking things. But if I was wearing the lighter coloured lenses and I drop the same plate in the kitchen and it breaks on the floor, I might be grateful that I didn't cut myself. I didn't easily let it go. I'm just like, yeah, you know what? We all can have a lapse in concentration. I can even be reflective and think, well, I was thinking too much about that talk I have to do on the weekends. Maybe I need to concentrate on putting the plate instead. I have plenty more plates. Accidents happen. It's okay. It's easy to clean up. I've got this. So the next discussion that I want you to have with someone near you is I want you to think about what lenses are you currently looking at life through? And how is it shaping your experience of your happiness right now? Go ahead. Town crier. Back. So who realised something about the lenses that they've been wearing? I remember once my son had some friends over in the school holidays, and one of the boys had dropped a glass on the floor over the side of the couch, and it smashed on the ground, and there was water everywhere and glass everywhere. And his first reaction was, "Oh my God, do I have to pay for it?" And I went, "Oh, of course not." He's like, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'll get everyone out of the way. And he really started panicking, and he started getting really anxious about just knocking this glass off the side of my couch. And I said to him, I've got a dustpan and I'm going to help you clean it up and we're going to put it in the bin. Are you going to be okay? And he looked at me and he said, "You're not angry at me?" I said, "I'm not angry at you. I'm okay. I drop glasses all the time. I'm sure you've seen someone else knock a glass off before. It's okay to do that. We just have to clean it up afterwards." And he said, "My mum would never say that to me." So I think one of the things that we think about when we think about the lenses that we're looking at the world through, we're actually, our children and the people around us are seeing some of that lens that we're looking through as well. It's not just ours. We're sharing it with the people around us. The second influence that happiness is on happiness is focus. So it's whether you're concentrating on the outcome, like the shining city beyond the mountains, or on the journey, which is how you're going to get there. Whether you're fixating on a singular goal or you're remaining open to possibilities. As technology and our lifestyles change and evolve, our focus is overall decreasing at a very alarming rate. We're getting really caught up in a lot of the little things, and we're not having time, or we're not having the bandwidth, as we call it, to focus on the big things. Apps and algorithms are designed to keep you scrolling. They're exposing you to negative content. They're keeping your attention away from other things. So it's kind of no wonder that people are feeling unhappy and unsatisfied. These distractions can influence your perspective and focus.
That represents your life, okay? You and I have lots of things to put into a life. Sand, that represents the small things. We have marbles that represents the bigger things, but they're not the most important things. Then we have some golf balls that absolutely represent the most important things. What most of us do is we start with the little stuff, and then we put that in our life. Then next to that, we do the medium-sized stuff, which is kind of important. We put all those in our life, and then we try and fill it up. And then we get to the most important things, and we leave that to last. And so we put them in, and we put them in, and eventually we realise that they don't fit. So we didn't start with the most important things. What we started with was what was least important. And how about if we start by putting the big things in our life, and we start with those. Then we've got a whole load of other things which are important as well, and add them into our life. Finally, there's all the other stuff, and we've got to do all that. When we start with the big rocks in first, and then we go to the marbles, the kind of medium-sized things, and then we add all the rest, guess what? It all fits.
Thank you. So even when I was listening to the speakers this afternoon and we were talking about health and nutrition and how do we focus on getting our workouts in and getting the right meals in, this video that we've just watched is a really good example of that. If eating the right meals and getting your workouts in is something that are your golf balls, do them first, then have a look at the marbles and then have a look at the sand. So it's time to talk to someone near you again and think about, what are your golf balls? What are the things that you really should be focusing on, the things that you do want to put in your life first? But what's the sand that has been taking you away from that focus? How did you go? Did you have a little bit of an aha moment then, thinking about the difference between your golf balls and your sand? It can happen in big things, like big priorities and little ones, but it can also happen in different moments. So I had a client I was working with recently, and she came to me because she was feeling anxious and very unhappy, and she wanted to change that around. But what we realised after talking to her, she was really focusing on trying to become friends with people that she didn't like. And she thought she had to be friends with them because they were in the circle, in the group, in the community. And so she was making herself unhappy, trying to fit in with people that weren't her kind of people. So when we had to think about the people she did interact with that were her kind of people, that she did enjoy spending time with, and we focused her energy more on creating better relationships and connections with them, she found that a lot of that anxiety and unhappiness just fell away because she switched her focus. So we do have the perspective and we have the focus as influences on our happiness. And then the last one is health. And this is another reason why I felt I probably could have jumped on the Zoom with the guys before, because they were talking a lot about how health helps them with their mindset and with their focus and how their positive outlook on life. So perspective and focus are very closely related to mental and emotional health, but so is physical health, especially your gut health. It has an impact on how you feel because a lot of our happy hormones are actually created in our gut. Daily routines, food you eat, water you drink, the exercise or movement you get, your gut health, and even how you manage stress all play crucial roles in your happiness. We have happy hormones like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, and they're key players in our mood and overall sense of well-being. And different habits that we have each day help to regulate and produce these different hormones. Exercise and movement increase production of endorphins, which act as natural painkillers and mood elevators. Balanced diet in nutrients, whole foods helps to produce serotonin, which is often called the feel-good hormone, and is primarily produced in the gut. A healthy gut is a happy gut, and a happy gut supports happy feelings. So most of us will have a car, and it either runs on petrol or it runs on diesel. What happens if you put petrol in a diesel car? It becomes unhappy. It's so unhappy that it will groan and it will shudder and it will refuse to move. It can lead to serious engine damage. It can cause potential failure in the diesel pump. It's not good. So have you ever known anyone with clinical depression or anyone that eats junk all the time? It's similar behaviour to the diesel engine, right? Not the pump part, but they don't want to move, they don't feel good, they groan, they're not unhappy. I've seen it. I've had people in my family with depression, and I've seen that their inability to move and get up and get going. But if you want to get your car happy again, you need to pay someone money to drain out the petrol and flush the system. And as humans, and we're eating foods, we also need to do that. Healthy whole foods like fruit and nuts and seeds and good protein are like diesel in a diesel engine. And highly processed junk food is like petrol in a diesel engine. So the more junk that goes into your gut, the more you want to seize up and stop moving. Which affects how you're feeling, because it affects all of the activities that you can do after that as well. But we can also produce other happy hormones like oxytocin, which is known as the love hormone, by engaging in acts of kindness or spending time with loved ones. A 20-second hug can release a significant amount of oxytocin. For those of us who don't have anyone to hug at home, also petting a dog or a cat can give us that same boost. We also need to just manage our stress. Managing stress through mindfulness and meditation or other relaxation techniques help maintain healthy gut health. It helps us sleep better. It helps us have more focus and perspective when we want to look at things and actually be in the moment and feel the joy. Our body's internal clock, which is called our circadian rhythm, needs to be in balance for us to have better health. So things you can do are like getting natural sunlight exposure, timing your meals, planning your meals, sleep timing and having good restorative sleep, reducing your exposure to artificial light or endless scrolling, improving your movement or your exercise, and managing stress are all key indicators of having good health. They're different simple steps that you can make each day. So I'd like you to now talk to someone and be really honest about something that you might do to improve your physical health or gut health after all the things you've heard today, this weekend. So what did you come up with? Who decided that they were going to get outside more? Yes. Who decided that they were going to move their body more? Yes. Who was going to focus on changing their eating habits a little bit? Yeah, good work. So one thing that we need to know is that managing stress is a really good way to boost our happiness. So when we come up with new goals, we need to make them achievable, not unrealistic, so that they cause more stress in our life. So if right now you don't get outside at all, maybe choose one night a week that you get outside for dinner or one morning a week that you get outside for a walk. If it's changing your meals, think about one thing that you are eating way too much of or not eating enough of and change that one thing to start off with. Yeah, so if right now you're eating a block of chocolate a night, maybe cut it down to half a block a night. No. Yeah, or increase whatever it is that you need to do. So happiness is not that constant state. It's not a destination like the shining city beyond the mountains. Happiness happens in a moment. It's a feeling like all others that come and go. And being happy is a collection of these moments. Happiness can even be defined by a collection of different feelings. Feelings such as joy, contentment, excitement, pleasure, energy, pride, satisfaction, and definitely connection. If I was to ask each one of you individually, what is happiness to you, you would tell me different things that you associate with happiness. You'd likely tell me about moments that bring happiness to you, places you've been, people you've seen. If I was to tell you what happiness is for me, it would be the warm sun on my skin. When I feel that warm sun on my skin, I feel great. I love that feeling. Or when I go to the beach and the first dive under the water, because is it going to be cold? Is it not? But you get under and you just feel that sense of pride and accomplishment. Or it's a hot cup of tea on a cold winter's day. Reading a really good book that I don't want to get to the end of, but I really, really do. Walking in nature, listening to the birds outside my window, sharing a meal with family and friends, talking to my niece and nephew on the phone, although they just usually read me books and I don't do any talking. Even seeing my son smile, although he's a teenager now, so just him acknowledging that I exist is my happiness at the moment. And as we collect all these happy moments and experiences, we're building our own resilience. The resilience we build helps us deal with the challenges and setbacks that we face in life. Because I know that we all have bigger problems than dropping a plate on the floor. But when we deal with these minor things in this way, through the light glasses perspective, it helps us determine how we deal with the bigger things. So the more we're shifting our perspective, our focus, and our health towards happiness, the more resilience we're creating for big challenges in life. So resilience is defined by psychologist Dr. Maria Roberto as action despite adversity. And it's a lot easier to take action when you've got energy and a collection of happy moments to keep you going. So I want you to bring to mind, just to yourself right now, you don't have to discuss this time, just bring to mind a challenge, something you're struggling with, something that's, hard for you right now. And just notice how it makes you feel. Notice how you're thinking about it. Notice what your beliefs are about it. You might even rate how hard and challenging it is on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, I'm not going to ask you to have a positive outlook, and I'm not going to ask you to change those thoughts because your experience is real. But I'm going to show you a way that you can manage with it better. So what I do want you to talk to someone about is moments that have brought you joy in the last week, feelings that would be in that happiness collection, the joy or the contentment, achievement, satisfaction. Think about things you love, think about things you've done that you've enjoyed. You could talk about things that you're looking forward to. You could talk about all the things that went well this week. It's just going to be a quick little chat. Just reel off a list to the person next to you. That wasn't 5 minutes. That one was quicker. Oh, it still says 5 minutes up there. My bad. So now that you've had that little chat, I want you to bring to mind that same challenge you had just before. And notice if you feel any differently about it now. Would you give it a different rating? Because by looking at our happy moments and building up those happy hormones within us, just by thinking about all the things that have brought us joy, our mind finds it easier to see challenges as something that it can work through. Because that's our resilience. It helps us feel more capable, or at the very least, it can provide comfort when things are tough. Imagine if all of the sand in that jar were collections of happy moments, of things that have gone well, of things that you love and things you're looking forward to. And imagine the support that it would provide to all the golf balls and the marbles around it. So you might like to think about how you can intentionally collect and cherish more happy moments in your daily life to build your own reserve of resilience. And then you can provide more support to yourself when big challenges or big struggles come up. Because happiness is not only about grand achievements, but about all the small moments along the way. Each meaningful moment and connection we make collects together to build resilience and increases our capacity to handle life's ups and downs. Our perspective, our focus, and our health are fundamental for creating our happy moments and growing our collection. So I do love travelling and I do love mountains. So I have one little story for you about another traveller who had a dream, a goal that called to them from a highest peak of a distant mountain. They could see it clearly in their mind, standing tall, reaching for the skies, and though the journey ahead seemed long, They knew in their heart that they were meant to reach the top. So they decided to begin. And they took the first step with a clear purpose, feeling a spark of excitement within them. And each step after that was fueled by the vision of standing on that summit. With every step, the traveller became stronger, more determined, and every small victory along the way reminded them that they were on the right path. Eventually, after persistence and dedication, the traveller did reach the summit. Standing there, they felt a wave of pride and fulfilment wash over them. In that moment, they realised they had become someone who achieves their goals and someone who follows through on their dreams. They also realised it wasn't just about the mountain, but it was the person that they had become along the way. So before we get to any questions that you guys might have, I want you to just remember that when things get bleak or murky, just check which glasses you have on, because it might just be time to clean the lenses. Thank you.
So, do we have any questions for Lucy?
I'll leave you mine to the end.
It's not about where I'm sitting at the gala, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question to you. Wondered what you think. So, people with OI or disability, do you think they have a more coloured, happy lens on because they're more resilient? They've had much more adversity and challenges in life. Do you think that makes us happier and than normal people, other people?
With the people in this beautiful room, and I've also met quite a number of people a couple of years ago at Sydney, I definitely have found a lot of people with a great positive outlook and a lot more resilience. I think that the more challenges that you overcome, the more resilience you build. So, it can also be true that the more challenges you have, the more, defeated you can feel. So it's definitely about an internal perspective and focus on what you wish to keep going with. I have met a lot of really positive people here, and I've loved the resilience that I see with everybody. Keep going and keep facing each challenge.
Any other questions?
I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I read a quote a couple of years ago, and I've been pondering it for ages. And the quote was, "The road to happiness is a very unhappy road." So what the person meant here was, if you search for happiness, it's not something you can actually find, because happiness it cannot be your goal. It's a byproduct of other things. Things that have purpose and meaning in your life will have the result of happiness. So if you say, "Oh, I only want to be happy," you're definitely on the wrong road, because you cannot find happiness by searching for it. It's a byproduct of other things.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly right. I think it is, like that collection of moments and collections of feelings. I talk to some people sometimes about like a toxic optimism, when we feel like we have to turn everything into something good or positive, and you might be going through a challenge or a hard time, and someone will say to you, "Well, what are you learning out of this?" Or "What is it giving you?" Or "What's the positives?" And you think, right now I can't see that. That's something sometimes you can see in reflection, but in the moment you just have to acknowledge that things are hard and things are challenging. And you can ask yourself, what can I do about it tomorrow? Or what can I look forward to? So that you're still keeping going, moving forward, that action despite adversity, that resilience. But it's not a destination. Happiness is definitely not a destination.
I just want to say one thing. Everyone here that wears glasses, I've got a good glass cleaner. So just use it.
Jenny's just saying she's got a cleaner for glasses if anybody's having trouble with foggy or dark lenses.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we might wrap up there. Sorry.
Hello, Lucy.
Hello.
I just want to pass this to you, Lucy, and the rest of the room, of course. I've had OI for 68 years, and I've never met a negative OI person. It's amazing that what we have to live with, and everyone is so positive, from whether they're 5 or 95. It's quite amazing. The other thing I wanted to say, how long is ARG?
20 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting, Rex's comment. The reason I volunteered to help with this conference, even though I have no connection with OI, is I was so impressed with the people that I met in Sydney, listening to their stories, and nobody whinged.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people who don't have OI who specialise in whinging. And in fact, we've got a neighbour who's proud of it. She said, "You never moan, do you?" And I said, "No, I never ever have." And she said, "Oh, I like a good moan." But that's what impressed me with this community too.
Yeah. I think we probably like different kinds of moans, but that's okay. I've exactly right. I think one of the things that we miss out a lot today is the opportunities to build resilience. We have everything at our fingertips. People are being saved all the time by other people, but when you have to face challenges through yourself and you're the only one that can help you rebuild your muscles or heal your bones or keep your mindset strong or keep facing the next day, that's where that resilience comes from, because you rely on yourself to make it happen. Yes, Derek.
No, we just got a curfew.
Yeah. I think, picking up on what you were saying there, there's only positive OIs. I think there's still got to be an acceptance that we need to be able to talk about the negatives, but not immerse ourselves, not wallow in them. Because if we don't acknowledge the negatives, then we won't be able to deal with them. So I think that's very important to make that distinction while still finding everything that's good out there to really focus on.
Yeah.
Thanks, that's a really valid point too. Now, I'm aware of the time, so we'll say thank you to Lucy. I love the comment, happiness is about the person we've become along the way. I think that's a really good way to wrap this up, isn't it? So can you show your thanks to Lucy for a great presentation?
Thank you. Beautiful, thank you.
And giving Hague's chocolates to someone from Adelaide is like giving taking Coles to Newcastle, but I'm sure you'll enjoy them.